I thought we might start out that way.
Just had to get out of the way early.
Yeah, no, I know it was coming.
Lincoln, the draft's on Monday, so and there's so much speculation, and you see these fan graphs and all these things where he's going and things like that. What's your latest thoughts on it?
Same they have been. I don't really care a whole lot about what happens in the draft. I've had good conversations with Kyler, his family, and I fully expect him to be with us, and I really don't have any worries about it.
Do you worry about his health? The hamstring the other day has sidelined him. That's got to be a pause for you.
Yeah, he's gonna have to learn how to manage it. He's been a guy that's been pretty lucky throughout his entire athletic career. He's had very, very few injuries. So I think sometimes when you have something minor like that, but that can also be nagging, there's an element of just learning how to deal with it, how you have to prepare your body so that it doesn't happen. And we've already had a pretty good conversation about that. And our strength team, medical team, they'll be ready to address it as soon as we get our hands on it.
Lincoln, does that give you any pause in the future about allowing one of your players to play a different sport as well?
No, I mean, everybody else has been a lot more worried about it than me. I haven't lost one night of sleep on it, so I apologize if anybody else has. I mean, I knew the deal getting into it. You know, I mean, that's when he first decided to leave A&M, we had very candid conversations with him and his family about it, and they have lived up to their word, every part of it, and I have no doubt that they'll continue to do so, and I think they would say the same thing about us.
Does the plan change for him this summer, though? Even if he doesn't sign, you know, he went to Cape Cod last summer.
No, he'll be with us this summer.
In the grand scheme of things, it's not a negative to have a guy or guys that are good enough to do those things, right? I mean, you're looking for all the great athletes you can get.
Yeah,
right?
no, if they can handle it, I think it can be a positive, and there's other ones out there that can too, and I think it sends a message to those other recruits that if that's something they desire, that if they come do it the right way, that Oklahoma will give them that opportunity.
Lincoln, I'm kind of curious, and this is still with Kyler playing two sports, in an injury situation, how much will the football team and the baseball team collaborate in a situation where, I mean, or is there any, I mean, if he's hurt, are you guys talking at that point about how much rest he should get, or is that fully left up?
Yeah, we talk about all of it. We've got a great working relationship with those guys, both coaches to coaches, strength coaches to strength coaches, trainers to trainers. So they're all on the same page. We're all on the same page. If something shows up that we need to discuss, we do it, and along with Kyler, we decide the best course of action. So it's been a team effort with very few glitches.
How did you feel the first spring went for you?
It was fun. It was fun. It was a fun spring. Loved how it ended with the spring game and how that closed. It's always exciting with a lot of new players in new positions, and then especially having as many mid-year guys as we did, especially on the defensive side of the ball. It was great to kind of get those guys injected into our culture, our systems, and see the difference that they're going to be able to make for us. So it's an exciting time. I mean, I think we've got a good football team. I think we're going to be, fairly talented, but also think it'll be the youngest team, as far as experience. I know, and now coming up, hard to believe, but my fourth year here, I think it'll without a doubt be our least experienced team. So we've got some, like any time this year, you got a lot of things that get you excited, and you got a lot of things that we gotta really work on to be the team we want to be.
You've kind of been putting your blueprint on everything as you go. Will you do things differently at all, welcoming in your freshmen this year with Benny, or is there a different plan or way to go about things that you'll take?
Yeah, there's some subtle changes. I think some of it is just over time learning, how you can best acclimate these freshmen as soon as possible. And I think we all kind of continue to learn and find ways each year to get better, just like you try to do schematically or any other parts in your program. So I don't think that's any different. Yeah, Benny, the off-season structure in some ways will be similar, and then there'll be some differences that we feel like are appropriate for our team and our program right now that we'll implement.
You feel like, I mean, you see guys now working with personal trainers so much. Do you feel like kids are more in tune with that you do work out all year long, that there's never really a stopping point anymore?
I think the great ones understand that, that if they're not working, somebody else is. Eventually that person's going to beat them as a opposing player or take their spot at whatever college or NFL team that they're on. So they got to be smart enough to get some rest too. But it's if you want to be great, it's a big price to pay.
If you had to point out, I know it's kind of early, you're not quite to summer camp yet. Where is like the biggest key focus? Part of it. Where's your weakest part of the team right now?
Leadership. That's the area. Not that there's potential. There's great, just like athletic potential. We have some guys that are going to be great leaders, but we need them to be great leaders now, not in the future. And some of them are going to have to grow up in a hurry. And then it's our job as coaches to do everything we can to facilitate that.
Now, can you get 2 hours a week with them, or you get some small time? Talk about that, because that's just come into play a couple of years. How positive is that for you guys, or how do you try to take advantage of that?
Yeah, everybody uses it, differently. Any time though that you take away from, that you take as a coach, whether it's film or doing a drill on the field, whatever it is, you're taking that away from your strength coach too. So there's some give and take, and so we don't take much time away from our strength guys. I mean, that's our most important strength and conditioning part of the year. We'll have plenty of time with our guys, once camp starts. But we do take a little bit of time each week, and I let the position coaches decide how their group best needs it. Some groups can really go out on the field and do some. You can't use football equipment and all that, but you can really get some things done. And then some positions you really can't do much. It makes more sense to maybe use a little bit of it in the film room. So it changes as the summer goes on, but it does give you a chance to at least get a little bit of time.
Exactly a year ago today, we were sitting in this room with Bob Stoops watching the men's golf team win a national championship, and then we started peppering him with questions. A week later, he was gone. He had retired. Exactly a year ago today, what were you doing?
I don't know. I don't know. Probably just finishing up recruiting, or.
Did you watch the golf?
I did watch the golf. Yeah, I was sitting on my back patio. I remember now. Yeah, now that you asked that. Yeah, I was sitting on my back patio, living and dying. I was yelling at Brad Dawkey when he hit that chip too far, and then I was cheering like any other fan when he made the putt. So, yeah, I was sitting in my backyard.
How close were you to preparing to be the head coach of the University of Oklahoma?
That day? I knew it was a thought at that point, but I didn't think it was that close as it ultimately was.
That day that it actually happened, the news the moment you found out that this was going to happen, did your nerves, or if not nerves, excitement hit a peak? Kind of what were you doing when that happened? How did you get yourself resettled?
There wasn't honestly time. It was the plan. I found out that, I think it was Wednesday. I found out that day. The plan was to announce it on Friday, and then as things do in this world, often it began to circulate a little bit, and so everybody made the decision to go ahead and get in front of the message and go ahead and do it that day. So there was no time to plan, no time to settle thoughts. I mean, I think I scribbled down like 10 words on a piece of paper of things I wanted to make sure I remind myself to say. I tied my tie going down the elevator to go over there and see you guys. So it was, just kind of just living in the moment a little bit.
I think today officially marks the last first for you.
Yeah.
In a week, it'll be your first actual anniversary. You okay with that? You're going to be an old veteran now, but are things going to look a little different now that you've been through everything on the calendar once?
I don't think I'm an old veteran yet. No, it's you get more settled in, not comfortable. Again, you don't ever get comfortable coaching at a place like this, but you do get more settled in with the challenges that come up and all that's on your plate. I think I've gotten a lot better as this years went on. I know I certainly learned a lot and still have plenty to learn, but it's been fun. I'm excited about where it's going. I think it's like everybody see, it's got a pretty good direction, just the overall scope of the program, and so we're working hard and we're also enjoying it too.
What have you learned? What have you learned about in the last year about this job that you didn't know when you took it?
Probably just how much of it is just strictly managing people. I guess I felt like there would be some of that, but I think you don't realize that day to day there's always, you know, when you've got a couple of hundred people overall, when you consider all your players and all the employees, you know, that you know, work in your program, there's always going to be a leak somewhere. You know, there's always something you've got to be doing, or always some type of issue, and you've got to have people that you trust to help you handle it, but you've also got to be enough in the middle of it yourself to grasp it and to set the direction. So, yeah, just that part of it never ends. And, you know, then there's the whole coaching football on top of that, too.
Was there anything that, Lincoln, that you weren't necessarily natural at in the position that you have gotten better at in a year's time? It may not have even to do with football. Maybe it's, you know, relations with the administration, or, you know, nights like this with fans.
Yeah. I don't know. It's hard for me to answer about myself a little bit. You know, I wouldn't say any of it's. There's been any part of it I thought this is just not me or not natural, but I think you get better at all of it, and I still have a lot to get better at too.
Like
how important was it to
really
have Coach Stoops just there during this first year? Really helped?
Yeah, it was big. There's just a lot of times for me just to have somebody that's been through it, that could understand it, that, you know, I could pick his brain, and a lot of times it was to confirm things that maybe I already felt, but just that extra bit of reinforcement, you know, especially from a guy like him, goes a long way. So it was, he's made a big difference for me, certainly the first year, and I'm going to continue to lean on him as long as he'll let me.
Coming out of the spring, you know, you went from starting a freshman linebacker, he was a year older, he really didn't practice that much, but it sounded like we got the feeling you really felt good about that group coming out of spring going in. What do you think about that group as you get ready to go to summer?
Just the linebacking core as a whole. Yeah, we're more talented than we've been, you know, and then excited to get, of course, Deshaun and Brian and throw them in the mix as well. Get Kenneth back healthy, Caleb back healthy. But yeah, I mean, you like our talent there. We've got some experience there too, you know, and it's going to be fun to see what those young guys do. Really fun to see how Levi Draper continues to grow. Fun to see, of course, again, I mentioned Brian and Deshaun. We were really high on those two. Ryan Jones, Nick Benito, you know, I mean, that's, you throw in that, there's going to be some heavy competition. Curtis Bolton had a great spring, just graduated. Really come a long way. I think he's really in a good spot right now to be able to help us. John Michael Terry, I mean, it's Mark Jackson, I mean, the list kind of goes on and on. So it's a lot of talent, a lot of depth, some experience, and definitely I think as talented as we've been at that position in the last few years.
Your Jacks are really young too. What do you think of the talent there?
Yeah, they are. You know, I mean, you know, Gums has talent. You know, Redmond certainly has talent. Those guys are different players. So I think it'll be us just settling in on what exactly, you know, we want and feel like we can get out of that position. And the good thing is we've also got some other pieces that are capable of moving around. So we've got some pretty nice versatility there.
Like, when you have so many mid-year enrollees, do you get a sense of urgency from the classes going to show up this weekend? How they feel maybe they got some catching up to do?
Oh, they feel it. I mean, these guys have all been on a group text for, well over a year now, you know, going back to when we were recruiting them and they started to commit and started to go ahead and build that bond. So now that half the class shows up early, they get to hear all the, you know, what's happening in meetings, what they're doing with Benny and the guys in the weight room, practices. So they feel that sense of urgency, no doubt about it. And they know that if they're going to, you know, want to be able to compete, they're going to have to make up ground quickly.
Lincoln, I don't know if you've heard, but Gus Malzahn reacted pretty strongly to the headset rule.
Yeah.
What's your feelings on that and the limitation of the amount of guys you can have on the headset?
It's a strange rule to me because, to me, we're trying. If you want to limit all the off the field personnel, then just put a cap on how many people you can have, and then you don't. We make all these kind of silly rules to me that are difficult to enforce. You've hired people to do certain things, and then in the middle of it, you change what they can do. I don't like it. It seems out of sequence to me. Like, if you want to fix it, then just fix it. Don't quit beating around the bush. You know, and so that's probably how I feel about it. We'll adapt to it. We've probably used those guys. We've used those quality control off the field positions probably less in games than most people have. You know, a lot of people bend the rules. A lot of compliance departments across the country have varying degrees of what they should be able to do both during a game and in practice. Our group is a little more strict on it, which I agree. That's how the rule's written. It's not like that everywhere. Either that or compliance people just don't look at it. So I wish they would just cap it and clean it up, and then however many you have, they can do anything you want them to do, and then I think it would be a lot smoother and a lot more even playing field.
How many guys do you normally have on headset?
In a game, we would have. We won't use the 20 because we're not a big group as far as putting players on headsets. I've never had never felt real strongly about that. We've done it occasionally. But we've had the 15 coaches and then probably another roughly 5 quality controls that did charting for us during games that now we'll have to make some adjustments on.
Hey Lincoln, when you talk about staff, do you have, are there any positions that you still would like to add at this point in terms of recruiting staff or quality control staff? Are there jobs that are still out there that you want to add? Do you have everybody you want, basically?
I think we're close. I mean, I think we've just got to be able to continue to evolve. And we've come a long ways, even in just the last couple of years with especially adding some people in recruiting. That was, we were behind in that area, I mean, frankly. And we've been able to add a few new positions. I think we're going to add another one here pretty quickly, but not ready to go any further on that right now. But I think we're a lot closer to where we need to be. But then I think you also again got to have the open mind to be able to continue to evolve and stay ahead of the curve.
There's a board of regents meeting next month, and there's a possibility of staff raises and stuff. How important is it for your guys to be rewarded for their work?
I mean, it's important. I mean, it's, look, we all get compensated a lot more than any of us ever dreamed about when we decided we wanted to coach college football. That's not why we do it, but with all the good that comes along with it, there's a different kind of risk in this business too for you and your families and strain that that there's going to be compensation on the other end of it. That's kind of how the world works, and the more at risk and high profile these jobs are, the more there is. So with all that being said, yeah, when you do a good job, when you win championships and do it the right way like our group has, then I think your group deserves to be compensated that way. And I'll say, throughout the time here that Oklahoma has always been, fair is not even the right word, extremely generous, very proactive, and that doesn't go unnoticed by anybody on our staff.
Lincoln, you talk about evolving. You're getting ready to undertake your first summer camps as well. And the landscape of that has changed dramatically. The way you're running has changed. Are you comfortable working in the framework that it's in right now, or would you like to see some maybe drastic changes, whether it be like, Power 5 conferences having combines, things like that?
And we can make it a lot more efficient, doing it that way. I mean, you're gonna, the summer camps at the universities, especially, in a state like ours where, we don't have just a huge population, a huge amount of high schools. The summer camps for the one institution, they have, gone downhill a little bit. I mean, I think everybody's experiencing it. And you get it. I mean, if you're a high school kid, you get that, hey, it makes sense to go to some of these super camps in Texas or in Georgia, in California, some of these bigger states where a lot of schools are working them, and you're going to get all kinds of kids, and you get it. So that's just the framework of how it is right now. So.
But when you got spring evaluations and now you've got coaches, your staff is going to be split up, while you're doing your own camps, going to satellite camps. Is that the best way for you guys to use your time as coaches?
It's not awful because you're able to choose, number one, and that's a big part of it is being able to, for the most part, if you want to go work a camp in a state, you can find a way to be there. And so most of the schools have been pretty accommodating that way. So, yeah, is it the most efficient? No. If you had 2 or 3 big ones across the country, would that make it more efficient for us? Yes. You would also have 10,000 kids there at each one of those, and I don't know how you evaluate. It's hard enough to evaluate one football team. So, you know, it's a tough system. I mean, I don't know that we find as many guys at camps as we used to. I think the evaluations are done, you know, so early now within the high schools, and then with all the content, you know, available online, it's not as big of a factor to me, you know, compared to what it used to be.
Talking about
when you talk about
you got skipping ahead to the fall. You got like your first few games are at 11 o'clock. Yep. Bob always said he kind of hated 11 o'clock kicks. How are you feeling? You know, your first 2 or 3 games, right? You know, you're the early birds.
Yeah, I had to talk to Joe and blow off some steam before I came in here on that one. I mean, it is what it is. Look, some years you're going to get a good draw on it. Some years you're not. I you know, don't agree with it, but at the same time, we're not the only ones making the call on it. But you know, I think when you've got the premier team in your league, then there at least needs to be some equity. You know, you don't need to have a string of 3 or 4 of them, which we're going to have. And so, listen, whenever they tell us to kick off at 7 a.m. or 7 p.m., we're going to be there ready to play. But there's other things like recruiting, being good for your fan base, opposing fan base, team traveling in. Now you got UCLA traveling in here through 2 time zones. Get here early. Their fans are going to be kicking off at 10 a.m. for their fans. One of our, you know, marquee non-conference games, so not great for recruiting. So you wish that, you know, you wish things were better, but it doesn't always go your way. That's part of it. We'll be ready to play at noon there, 11 o'clock on the others.
You've been in college sports now, what, 15 years or so, a little bit longer, and the year you get to be a head coach and in control of your own program, the size of Oklahoma, the Supreme Court says it's okay to gamble on sports.
Yeah.
Does that make you nervous at all? What
Yeah.
pitfalls you might face?
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
No, it does. It's. I'm glad that we thought this might be coming, so we've taken a few precautions is the right word, but we've taken a few steps before this happened to go ahead and really start to educate our players on it. But we're going to have to do more. I think everybody's a little nervous about it. It's uncharted waters. There's going to be some. There's going to be some repercussions of it that maybe something we all can't predict right now. So it'll be kind of I think a period where we're kind of feeling it out and what are the challenges and how do we address them.
Time for 2 last questions.
Lincoln, you're coming back to the recruiting question I asked earlier. In what areas were you guys lacking before? Is it people doing like what Zach Heffley does? Is it roster management? In what areas were you lacking and what do you still kind of need?
Yeah, no, a little bit. Just strictly manpower to do all the things that we want to do, and I think just from a pure organization standpoint, you know, somebody that can really see the whole picture of it, because it's all got to complement each other. I mean, you're trying to show off the OU brand, the same messages through so many different areas, whether it's how you treat them on an official visit, what you do, or what game day's like, or what a junior day's like, or just a single unofficial visit. They've all got to fall kind of within the same scope, and so you got to have somebody with vision to do that, and then you got to have people in different areas that have an expertise to execute that. And so we've brought in some new people that have done a tremendous job with it. We've found some good young talented people, and so. No, I think we're heading in the right direction. I think we're really cutting edge in a lot of areas right now, and I think the results have spoken for themselves so far.
Lincoln, do you anticipate any roster changes, or is there any injury updates as well?
No, only injury update I would say from spring that we kind of found out after. Chance Sylvie had an Achilles injury that happened about mid-spring. We were hopeful that it would, it was one of those that was a little bit on the edge, hopeful that it would, be able to heal on its own and work through. It ended up being a little bit worse than we anticipated, so we went ahead and got that fixed. So it'll be it'll be 50-50 if we get him back probably for this season or not. It'll be one of those deals. He does have a redshirt year available, so it'll be one of those situations where, you know, you get to mid-season and see how he's recovering and you know, just what makes the most sense. He's riding around on one of those like you are there, Eric. But yeah, I think everybody else, our off-season surgeries, rehabs, Michael Jones, Caleb Kelly, Alex Dalton, probably missing somebody. Basquin, yeah, those guys are all either on or ahead of schedule right now.
Lincoln, if we can ask one more. We talked to you last time about the recruiting. You were just learning what these new spring recruiting rules were going to do to you. You had a big spring weekend on the spring game. What's your thoughts on the new way they're doing things and the new rules in recruiting now that you've gone through it a little bit?
Yeah, I'm glad we did all those visits since they gave us a bunch of 11 a.m. kickoffs. Ended up working out good. So, yeah, I'm fine with the rules. I mean, they're fine. I don't think there's, you know, I think it gives you, there's a little bit more room for strategy and how you do it. So a little bit, you know, a few more ways to tailor it to what you need for your program. So I do kind of enjoy that part of it, and I love the early signing day. I mean, I do. I think it was great last year, and I think it eliminates a lot of confusion. So I'm good with where they're at. I think it bodes well for us.